Alright, what we're going to do today is going to be a useful conceptual exercise, whether you're using ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Pro, or ArcGIS Desktop. What we're working on right now is for you to be able to phone in, or remote access, a individual computer that will be assigned to you in the GIS lab. There's some IT adventures that are being had right now to make that happen. But the way it's going to work is you're going to have a virtual private network connection. Whether that's on Mac or PC, it'll work the same or very similar. And you're going to have a computer screen pop up that is the computer screen in there. So it's going to be remote controlled of what you're used to. So we've run into some issues here with ArcGIS Online where too many people accessing a data set at once, nobody can access it anymore, it's just not working. So we're trying this. In the meantime, this is a light data set. We should be able to make it work, and we're the only ones that have access to it, so there shouldn't be too much of a bottleneck. So, what we're going to be doing is taking these two raw data sets. One of them's a roads data set, one of them's the enhanced forest inventory data set from the LiDAR. And what we're going to be doing is having you take this from the raw input data, where everything looks the same, into a symbolized or categorized data set showing which roads are better than some other roads, and which 20 by 20 meter LiDAR cells, LiDAR drive forest inventory cells, has a higher saw log volume, or a saw log volume greater than 100 cubic meters per hectare. So, that is fundamentally the step of going from a raw data set, or input data, into a usable map that some audience can actually do something with. In this case, you're taking the perspective of somebody who wants to go into this woodlot, access a stand, and find that stand has a decent amount of saw log volume with which to work. So, the first step is to identify which attributes you have, and we'll start with the roads layer. And we'll go into the table here, show table, and here we have the code, F9, F4, scrolling through, F3, and the way this code works is F1 is the best private road. P1, we don't have one in this data set, but would be the best public road. And as the numbers get higher, the grades go down. So like a saw log where 1 is higher than 2 and 3 is lower, 4 is lower than that. So F9 is pretty much a deer track in the woods. This might be an old road that was built in the 1950s and abandoned, or it might be a winter road that is not suitable for driving in the summertime. In any case, you don't want to go on it. But F3 and F4, those are pretty typical woods roads. So we want to know which is which, because if we want to access this woodlot, we have 3 options from the west and 1 from the north. So we can go in through here, we can go in through there, or through there. Or if we come from the north, we can come through here, right? No. You'll sink in this swamp in between these 2 lakes. That doesn't connect, so that one's out. Now we have 1, 2, 3. And this is kind of 2, but it's really 1. So you could go down there and in, or you could go across there and down. And if you looked at the air photo, you would get a hint. Let's do that now. Change base map, imagery. There's imagery. Yeah, so if we uncheck that so you can see it, you can definitely tell which road you would want to drive in on unless you were looking to have a muddy ATV adventure when you come in here to this swamp, where this road is probably sunk in. So, back to having our roads shown, and change the space map back to topographic so we can see them better. And let's symbolize by category. And whether you're in any software platform, there is going to be a way to do this in GIS. It's just going to be a little bit different. So it's like driving somebody else's truck. So you might be used to a Ford, you jump into a Tacoma, things are a little different, but you'll figure it out pretty quick. Same with GIS. Best not to get too married to one software platform, because I guarantee they're going to change it on you. So I will run in ArcGIS Desktop, ArcGIS Pro. I'm learning online. It's got its place. But I'll also run QGIS, which is an open source, free GIS platform that is pretty well catching up to ArcGIS in a lot of ways. I'll also run some other things like ERDAS Imagine and Saga and some other GIS platforms that use rasters more than vectors. And every one of those has its own strengths, just like you might not want to take an F450 deep into the backwoods. Maybe you would, but I would much rather take a second generation Tacoma in and be able to actually turn around when I get to the end of a road. So, different platforms for different uses. No matter what platform you're using, this basic operation is something you'll find. So, in online, we'll go to Change Style, which is the triangle, square, and circle. And rather than Show Location Only, we're going to use this drop-down menu and select Show by Code. And it's going to give us a default, but we don't want the default. We want something that actually makes sense to us. You have the option to click and hold on those three dots and move things around. So now F3 is on top, F3 is the highest ranked road, F4 is in the middle, F9, just don't go there. So I'm going to click on that little line there by F3. I'm going to make that black with a width of 3. Okay. I'm going to make F4 black and keep the width of 2. And I'm going to make F9 black with the width of 1. And I want a pattern that goes dash 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 to show that this is a very questionable life choice. So now we've gone to a much more interpretable map. And I could change that to a slightly different color so that I can see that it is a higher ranked road. So that section right there has a higher rank in that data set. The reasons why, unknown to me. It might actually be a better road, or it might be an artifact of an old data set. So now we can see that we have two viable ways into this woodlot. And the one is from the northern side, and the other is right down in the middle. Both of those are accessed from the west. We have another option from the east to come down to the end of this road and loop around back down to here. And we can also make that traverse from this public road to this one, from Slybrook to, I forget the name of it, but you can get down here, and I believe it's a way into the Eagle Lake Public Reserve land here, which I believe this township is, which is why it looks a little bit different here. You can see this is, of course, an Irving road, and Mr. Irving likes his roads straight. There's efficiency and safety that comes with that, but you are doing a little more up and down, where the other school of thought on roads is to follow the contour, which is what you see here. So this road is on Maine Public Reserve land. This is kind of an old school forestry road. It's allegedly well maintained. I've not driven this part of it. I've been out here a bunch, but I've not been out to here. But you can see this one follows a contour line, so you have no up and down, but you do have some sharper corners, and you can't always see what's coming to you from a long ways off. Where this one is cutting across contour lines, but if you're on top of a hill, or if you have a line of sight, your line of sight will extend a long way, and you can see a dust cloud rising if you have an 18-wheeler coming down at you. So there's some value to that. And you never have to slow down to make a turn. So that's the reason why that is. So some people will prefer this, some people will prefer this. The landowner in this case very much prefers the straight roads. So you can tell who owns what just looking at the roads. But you have two options, one to get in here, one to get in here, and if you're coming in from the other side, you can come in that way too. So 3 options in total, but this one here is not an option at all. This is an old road system that could possibly be rejuvenated, but there's really no point to doing that. So it's sort of an artifact in the data set. So now we have the roads layer showing. We know how to get there, and this is a good time to save. And hit OK, don't hit cancel, and done. So that's the roads done. Now we want to show the LiDAR-derived enhanced forest inventory. And that is likewise by change style. And we have a variety of attributes to choose from. Among them is the saw log. And this is showing it is alphabetical. Oh, I've clicked the wrong one, so I'm going to cancel out of there. I want the EFI. So the EFI, we've already finished with the roads. We want the forest inventory change style. And we have a variety of attributes here in alphabetical order. And here is saw log. So what saw log is the estimated saw log volume in cubic meters per hectare. So if we click on one of these, we will see that there are, where did it go? Saw log. 42.5 cubic meters of saw log volume per hectare in that area, which is 399 square meters, which is one small fraction of a hectare. So you don't have 42.5 cubic meters on that small area. Let's figure out what that actually is. That's a good time to see how this fits together. So we have essentially 400 square meters. 400 divided by 10,000. So we have 400 square meters. There are 10,000 square meters per hectare. That means that this is 0.04 of a hectare. So that times 42.5 means that you have 1.7 cubic meters of saw log volume in that actual pixel. So you see how we go from a cubic meters per hectare, 0.4 hectares, means that you have 1.7 cubic meters total. You would then get an average for this whole area, which is something we'll do later, or you could total them all up and divide, getting that average. So for now, let's just show by a category. So this is showing a stretched symbology, which shows sort of a ranking where a lighter color has a lower value and a darker color has a higher value. But we want a classified data set. And that says this color is between 39 and 87 cubic meters per hectare. That's between 87 and 124. And then this color blue is between 124 and 197 cubic meters. We can change the number of classes. I want 2. So that means that I can reclassify this by moving the slider or typing in, if I click on that, I can type in 100 cubic meters. So now I've got that set up so that I have light blue is a no-go under 100 cubic meters, and the dark blue is a go over 100. Now let's take this one more step, and I want to keep my cutoff at 100, so I'm going to type that in. But I'd really also like to know what's got more than 150, and that is the, oh boy, that's a nice stand right there, type of a situation. And that lines up with what I know well about this woodlot, where there's mature hardwood here, here, and here, or at least there were when this LiDAR flight was taken. And now I can hit OK. And done. So now I've got a map that shows 1, how do you get into the woodlot, and 2, what do you expect to find when you get there in terms of saw log volume. Saw log volume is also a great proxy for a mature forest, because of course you can't have a lot of big saw logs if you don't have a mature forest. So if you were considering pine marten habitat or something, you would also look for the same kind of thing. So, final step, I want you to make some bookmarks for the areas that are high volume. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that just shows a viewer a quick way to go to the areas of interest. So bookmark number 1, add bookmark. Northerly hardwood stand. And now you remember if I go somewhere else and click on that, it takes me right back to there. So that's like sort of having a printed map that shows an audience exactly where you want them to look. Now we can go to here and bookmark number 2, add a bookmark, westerly, westerly hardwood stand. And I didn't want to say northern hardwood stand because northern hardwood carries some meaning about northern hardwoods are sugar maple, yellow birch, those species that grow up here, versus the Appalachian hardwoods that grow down south, like the yellow tulip poplar that we don't get up here. Those are southern hardwoods. So here's our, let's see, did I say 3 or did I say 4? If I'm considering these two different things, we'll make them 2, and you'll see that there is a bit of an interruption here. This might be a wet area. I forget. Let's find out. We can switch really fast to look at that. No, that's not wet. It's just an old harvest there that doesn't have as high a volume. So now back to our topographic map, back to looking at our data, and we'll make this bookmark southerly hardwood stand, and then we'll move a little ways up, and here is our central hardwood stand. And every one of those, if you want to go to that one, click that bookmark, and now you can bounce around the map really quickly and say that you were a contractor working a processor. I could send you this document just like this, share, copy that link, done, and then that would go to you. You'll be able to look at these bookmarks and say, all right, here's job number 1, job number 2, job number 3, job number 4. I can zoom out. I can see, all right, so that's the road I'm going in here. I'm going to come off Slybrook Road. Here's that. Oh, what's that? Am I going to be able to make that turn? What's going on here? I can change my base map. I can see what's going on. That's interesting. That's a swamp. Right in here somewhere, if you remember that picture of a white pickup truck stuck in the snow, that was right about here. That was a fun time. I didn't do it. That was the Dubus. And then we can switch back to topographic, and I can look at the axis. I can look at the way in, the way out, what's around it. As I'm scrolling around, I might say, ooh, that's a nice bit of wood in here. I wonder if I could talk to the forester and say, goodness, that looks nice. I can get to that. Do you want me to go in? And the forester would then say, no, that's within this riparian area. That's a buffer. You can't have it. But this allows a lot more interaction with the data versus just a screenshot showing this, which you would have in an Avenza map. So, say this road was cut off for whatever reason, you could look at this and say, all right, so I can no longer go here. Now I can go here, down here, and here. If you were going really wild and crazy, you could set up a one-way traffic route so that the trucks coming in empty would come this way, pick up wood here, and then go out that way. Again, that's not really the context the map was made for, but the data exists to consider that point. So, at this point, I'm sure you figured out that I'm done telling you what to do and I'm just thinking about things. But I hope you're clear on what this assignment is. When you're done, when your map looks like this, hit save, and then share, give me that link, and that's that. So, the point of what you're doing today, symbolizing data. You have attributes. The attributes are the data that live in the attribute table, and you can show those attributes on a map in a way that is useful to an audience. And using ArcGIS Online, you can present it in a way that the audience can really interact with that data. So even though we're looking to go back to desktop, I think this little diversion into ArcGIS Online has been valuable. This is a way that forestry companies are moving into for communicating between foresters and supervisors and contractors. So you might see this in the very near future in your real-world jobs. But for right now, we're getting the basic concepts, and those concepts will transfer between platforms. So, fire away. This shouldn't take you too very long once you get into it. And hopefully we have everything set up for you on Tuesday. Till then, stay safe, enjoy to the extent possible. and I can't hear you swear, so I'll let you self-police on that, and good luck.